Greetings to one and all. I am Russ Hatfield, back with Kara, my high-dimensional twin soul and member of Ashtar Command. Feb's editorial looks back on a past excerpt from a channeling session that we call Earth in the Scheme of Things. Now, we were reviewing some old channeling sessions when we came across the time when Omal, commander of Hades Base, was explaining how things worked with the Galactic Federation and where Earth stands in regards to the other races in the galaxy. While humans go about their business, ships from other races are landing to do research in places they won't be seen, he says. Humanity shows promise to be included with those races and is receiving protection and knowledge to help it ascend to a higher dimension. He also goes on to explain what that would be like. For a full transcript of this editorial, please go to our main homepage at HadesBaseNews.com. We invite you to subscribe to be kept informed of future postings on the YouTube channel from the members of Ashtar Command. And now we present Earth in the Scheme of Things. Sometimes it happens that Kara and I come across old channelings in the Ashtar Command archives that inspire us to elaborate on what it means in the larger picture. In this case, Omal, the base commander for Ashtar Command, was channeling on New Year's Eve of 1996, and I was discussing with him an email I had received talking about the possibility of mass landings. I wanted Omal's take on that possibility, and what I got was an eye-opening look at the Galactic Federation and where our planet stands in the larger picture of a galactic community. Before that, though, we have to preface things by explaining that humans are a young race of beings who look at ancient history in terms of thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years. Higher dimensional worlds like Sirius have had a society that has lived peacefully for hundreds of thousands of years. With that said, we get from him a description of the Galactic Federation, which is, as he says, a group of planets that are loosely aligned in a cooperative, non-aggression type pact. Mutual aid between worlds would also be part of that description. Sirius is one of those worlds, and a keystone, as he calls it, to making that pact work through their deployment of the Syrian Defense Force. At one point, before they became higher dimensional, they were a third-dimensional planet that sent out colonies to establish sister worlds. Earth was one such planet, and Atlantis was where the colony was established. Humans were the indigenous species on the planet, who were then manipulated genetically by the Atlanteans, thus becoming a planet Sirius now watched over with the help of Ashtar Command, a member of the Galactic Federation. Now that the background has been laid out, he clears up that it's his doubt there would ever be any mass landings, as it would interfere with our evolution. What he says does happen is landings taking place from other species all the time. We get groups interested in our planet's structure, how the crust is made, geological surveys, and natural history surveys. He says they land in secluded areas where there is no chance of them being spotted. There are anthropological groups that we assume study our species from afar, and other individuals he brings up that have a playful sense of humor. In other words, they are looking to be spotted by someone. What we learn is that there are other groups besides the Galactic Federation and Ashtar Command that have dealings with humanity in one way or another. One of those would be the Greys, a third-dimensional race that do experiments on humans. Such abductions go against non-interference with our race, and so the base steps in to prevent such abductions. Through that higher dimensional underground base on Mars, they send out ships that change over to the third dimension to intercept ships they believe may have abducted humans on board. We know what happens at those times thanks to a wing commander who is one of the pilots on the base. They send a warning, then a warning shot, then they take down the ship's shields and board them to conduct a search. We know that in one of those searches they found a young woman named Sarah who had been experimented on so much they had to bring her back to the base, and then eventually Sirius where they helped her as best as they could before she died. She did, though, get to spend the last part of her life among people who loved her. That protection extends to everyone on our planet. What we learn next is that the human race is one of the many third-dimensional races in the galaxy, and that humanity is part of the discussions on the development of our planet and other planets like ours. How he puts it is that a species is elevated or evaluated on how it evolves and advances. They look at how much harm a race could do, and if the species is very self-destructive and ends up destroying itself before it develops practical spacefaring capabilities. They do not concern themselves with that planet. As he puts it, if they tried to help every planet, they would help no one. They select those with potential. We obviously have potential because of the help we receive in knowledge and protection. But let's say we were to destroy ourselves before we were a spacefaring race. The base would try to rescue those individuals they felt who were promising, and then monitor the dead planet for life to start down the long road of evolution once more. Omal says that operations of the base would have to be scaled back tremendously to just a few hundred individuals. Why put anyone monitoring a dead planet? Earth, it appears, is in a galactic position where it would be necessary to maintain a base so that the planet could not be used by other races. While there is still a population on the planet, it's important that our race does not reach a critical point that he describes as evolution taking a hand, where humanity begins to develop psychic skills among some individuals and groups of others do not, causing a polarization between the two groups. At present, that would appear to be a long way off. Getting back to the channeling session, we get reminded that one of the main purposes of the help we get from Ashtar Command is because of their wish to help us ascend to their dimension. What we discuss next are the actual mechanics of ascension, and what we find out is that the preparation for ascension has been taking place all along. It all came about thanks to the internet by bringing the higher consciousness of individuals together on a higher level that can't be perceived. What it is, though, is a mass meditation through information pulled together from various points throughout the global network. We were still on dial-up when this recording was made, and those in the base could see where a faster connection would lead. He describes it as a way of bringing new people and new energies together that is very necessary for the process. How he words it is that people are pulling themselves together towards ascension, but not how they think. It's not like one day they wake up in the morning and they're on a higher dimension. Instead, what people will find is that they become more spiritually alive, more spiritually developed, more spiritually sound, more spiritually in tune, and more spiritually capable. Then one day they will pass on into the waiting period where the change to a new dimension will take place upon the next incarnation. Groups of light workers are the culmination of all that coming together since the 90s, thanks to people of like minds searching out others to share what they know. We go on to other topics from there, but what we received in his conversation is that we are on track for what they have predicted and planned. There isn't a better place to learn from than a world that gives a person so many choices and decisions to make. That, though, is where humanity stands in the grand scheme of things. Future galactic citizens being helped out by other galactic citizens to join them in a peaceful coalition of races. In love, light, and wisdom as one, Russ and Kara.